Welcome to The Christian Faith in 100 Objects, thinking about the topic, can you prove that God exists? And just let me check my settings, which are all coming through, I think. Look, it's great to be with you. This fundamental question, is there a God? Can you prove it? Or is it just a question of faith and belief and trust? And just to say straight away, many people find it hard to believe in God, or certainly if they half believe in God, hard to believe in a loving God. Maybe they doubt his existence altogether, or their experience of suffering or tragedy has made it hard for them to doubt his love. And to say straight away that in the biblical view, in the tradition of Catholic philosophy and theology as well, it's that there are good reasons for believing in God. That to accept the existence of God is not a superstition or just a blind, irrational leap. That there are reasons, there is evidence, there are good arguments of why we can and should believe in God, but just to get there very slowly. And to see that there's two extremes to avoid. One extreme in religion is to think, look, everything can be explained and argued. It's all completely rational. If I just sit you down and if you listen properly to me, I can prove everything to you. And if you don't get it, it's because you're a bit slow or you're not listening properly. This extreme view that everything has an explanation and can be argued is, in the history of philosophy, it's called rationalism. Rationalism. That everything in life and in faith and in religion is to do with reasons and arguments and logic and common sense. The other extreme, though, is to think that nothing can be explained by reason. That everything in religion is just to do with faith and trust. You just need to jump in. It's a kind of blind faith, and there are no reasons to believe. It's irrational. It's beyond reason. And this extreme is sometimes called fideism. Fideism. It comes from the word simply faith. So everything is reason on the one hand, or everything is faith on the other hand. And you can imagine what I'm going to say, that in fact the traditional biblical Christian view, and the view that's very much at the heart of Catholic philosophy and theology, is a middle way. We believe that you can explain and prove some fundamental things, in our case today, the existence of God. It doesn't tell you everything about him, but something, if only the simple fact that there is a God, that he exists. And then it gives you, because of that, a starting point for discussion with other people, and for discussion about what you can know and what you can't know. And if there's lots that you can't know, what are the different ways that you could discover that? But if there's no reasons, if there's no starting point for why you should believe in God, then everything really just is blind and irrational. And that's not what Christians traditionally believe. It's certainly not what Catholic Christians believe today. We believe, to kind of sum up, that the existence of the universe points to some kind of creative power that brought it into being and sustains it in existence. The fact that there is something rather than nothing at all requires an explanation that lies beyond the categories of science. It's not unscientific, but it's asking bigger questions. The most fundamental laws of nature, on which all the other laws of nature depend. So the most fundamental laws of nature that we're looking to for explanations, these cannot just have arisen by complete chance. They need an explanation. And even allowing for chaos and randomness, which is part of life and part of science and the universe, there must be an underlying order to the universe. It requires some deeper foundation, some transcendent cause, a cause that lies beyond. So remember, we're not talking about faith yet. We're just looking at the world with an open mind, with curiosity, with common sense and reason. We're looking with the eyes of a scientist and a philosopher, and we're trying to make sense of things. Because what do scientists and philosophers do? They look, for example, for causes. One thing caused another, or what caused that? And how do I make sense of that? And it goes back and back. But there must be an ultimate cause of all causes, an original cause. Otherwise, we can't make ultimate sense of all the little causes in between. Scientists and philosophers and ordinary people, we look for explanations. You could say this is almost a definition of science. Explain to me why this happens and that takes place the way it does. Why? What's the explanation? One explanation leads back to another, and this can't be endless. Otherwise, nothing ultimately is explained. There must be an ultimate explanation beyond all explanations, at the beginning of all our explanations. Even if we haven't got to it yet, we know it must be there. That's the point. Scientists, philosophers, ordinary people, we look at the order of the universe, the patterns, the beauty. It makes sense. It fits together. We can make sense of it. There is a rationality to the universe. And this isn't just something we impose onto it, as if we can just project with our imagination onto ideas of the universe. We do imagine a lot and we're very creative, but we don't just project, we discover. We find that there is order and structure and meaning and beauty in the universe. And there must be some kind of law or ordering or intelligence that lies behind all the laws and ordering and intelligibility of the universe. We look at the very existence of each thing around me, myself, my desk, my computer, the window, the sky, the clouds above me, and the existence not just of each thing, but of everything. The existence of the whole of creation, of the whole universe. There must be something that explains existence. Again, that lovely question, why is there something rather than nothing? What is the reality, the being, inverted commas, that explains all this being and this existence? There must be something. So there's so much we don't know about God, but with reason, this is what I'm arguing and Christianity would argue, we can discover that there must be something behind everything, some ultimate cause, some transcendent being, some ultimate original explanation. And this is what we call God. We say that God is the one who created and sustains all that is, that he must be utterly transcendent, beyond time. He must have existed for all eternity, whatever that means, to exist beyond time, that he must not depend on anything else. Most things are dependent. The philosophers say they're contingent. They owe their existence, their structure, their being to something else. There must be something that doesn't depend on something else for infinity, going back and back and back, but that reality, that being, that original cause is close to everything that exists because everything is held in existence by this deepest reality. Okay, there's this word, God, G-O-D, a three-letter word in English, pointing to this deep reality. And you might say, the classic child's question, okay, but if God made the world, who made God? A great question. And I'd say that the tradition, the Christian tradition would say, so many things, everything has a cause, an explanation. But there must be something that did not need to be caused, that wasn't made by something else. You say, who made God? Well, I'm saying there must be something in the beginning, something fundamental that didn't need to be made because it just is. It explains itself. It doesn't have another explanation that lies beyond. It just is. It exists in itself. This is why, looking to this need for something beyond, this is why hard atheism, I think, doesn't actually make sense. To think that there is no ultimate reason, that all we can understand is what we see and there's nothing beyond, and there's no deeper explanations, and there's no deeper reality that lies beyond all the contingent everyday realities of things and causes and effects and explanation. To simply say there is no ultimate answer and there's nothing beyond, there's nothing transcendent, this is what hard atheism is, this doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it's scientific, actually. It's not rational. It's anti-science, because it's saying there's no deepest explanation or cause. And the whole thrust of science is to find the deepest explanations and causes. The universe isn't self-explanatory. You can't just say, well, we go back and back and back and discover a bit more forever and ever, because that means that nothing ultimately has a cause or explanation. So remember, this is saying something, this argument, but it's not saying everything. In fact, it's a very humble argument. It's just saying there needs to be something. We need to recognize that there is something beyond the ultimate cause, the beginning, the ultimate explanation. It's a very dark, mysterious reality. Let's call this deepest reality beyond God, the creator, the uncaused cause, the eternity that lies beyond and behind time. But there's so much we don't know about God, about this reality. It's actually very humble, very limited, but it gives us a beginning and a foundation. It allows us to build on this idea of God. Well, if there is this reality there, this dark, mysterious reality that we call the existence of God, then maybe this reality is intelligent and loving and good, because we see in this universe, in ourselves especially, so much intelligence and love and goodness and purpose. And maybe this comes from somewhere, that the origin, the source of the whole of the universe, including the goodness and beauty and love and intelligence of the universe, maybe this comes from a source that somehow is good and intelligent and loving and beautiful, but to the nth degree, in a way that we can't understand. And maybe this God has spoken to us, has reached out to us, in which case maybe we haven't discovered that yet, but it will make us sensitive and attentive. So there's so much to learn, but there is a starting point, and belief, knowledge of, trust in the existence of God is not irrational. All of these arguments and discussions up to this point, it might seem a little bit abstract. And of course, we're doing, in effect, some science, some tough philosophy, really. It is abstract, but it touches us in different personal ways. And I think that for all of us, there are moments when we go deeper. We think about these things, but they hit us. They kind of impact on our lives and our experience. And in so many different ways, the head, the heart, the soul, the imagination, we come to the point where we think, wow, there is something beyond, for this reason or because of that experience. I'm not saying, who knows, we have a direct experience of God, because God is so mysterious and beyond experience, but we have little moments of intuition and experience when the reality of God impacts us, and whether it's through an argument, a discussion, an experience, it becomes a bit more real. He becomes a bit more real. I remember, for example, probably my first kind of very alive experience in this sense was when I was taken to church by my mum, just for a little visit when I was, 7 or 8, with my brother. And I remember the sense in that church that everything I saw, there was more beyond, as if I could kind of half hear an echo from something beyond. And I mean this in quite a deep way. I can remember this experience still. I think it was an experience of the presence of God, but it was as if I was kind of looking beyond the horizon, and I knew that there was more to reality than what I could see. I remember someone praying with me, a friend, when I was about 16 or 17. I didn't have a strong faith, but just there we were, and he said, "Can I pray for you, Stephen?" And I said, "Okay then." And that moment of prayer and going home that evening, just to have a sense that maybe there was more. It raised the question of faith and religion and God. And I wouldn't say I believed particularly, but it became a real question for me. Is there more? Is there a God? And it raised the question and began to open the door. And this might sound a bit strange, but I'll take the risk of sharing it with you, even though you might think I'm a bit odd. I remember stepping onto a bus in Rome 25 years ago when I was studying for the priesthood. So I did believe in God's existence. But I remember it must have been because of something we'd been studying. Stepping onto the bus thinking, wow, God is eternal. And just that thought, it just opened up something in me. And it wasn't so much in words, but just a sense, wow, God is eternal. So nothing existed before him. So he always has existed, and he always will exist. And nothing explains his existence or comes before him, because he is eternal, and he is the uncreated creator and the eternity that lies beyond all time. And just something in this touched my mind, my heart, my soul, and I was transfixed on this bus step, just about to speak to the driver, hardly able to move, a sense of wonder and awe at the eternity of God, like walking along a field and coming to the edge of a cliff that you didn't know was there, and suddenly looking over and having your breath taken away as you realize the vastness before you. A sense of God's presence, but also, as it were, his absence, his utter beyondness that struck me there. Which object am I going to choose to illustrate God? We're speaking about the Christian faith in 100 objects. Here is my object. It's not a religious one. I'm choosing for this topic the Hubble Space Telescope. Why? Well, it's in my mind. It was launched in April 1990, and we've just had the 30th anniversary celebrations. The extraordinary images of the universe from the Hubble telescope, the billions of stars in every galaxy, the billions of galaxies in the universe, the information we've learnt, the beauty that we've seen, the wonder of the universe and of creation that the Hubble Space Telescope shows us, the miracle of science and the wonder of the universe that science is getting to know. But in that enormity and that wonder, realizing even more with the help of the Hubble telescope that the universe doesn't explain itself. The universe doesn't explain itself. It points to something beyond, something that the telescope cannot see. It sees so much, and it opens up for us the possibility, the need for something beyond. Who is the creator that created this extraordinary universe? What is the transcendent explanation, the ultimate cause? The creation points to a creator. That's why I've chosen the creation and the Hubble telescope as my object. If the universe is full of such wonder, then the creator must be even more wonderful, even though we can hardly understand what that means. We can't see him or her or it. There's very little without faith that we can say for sure, but we can say for sure, I think, that there is a God, that he exists, that he is the cause and explanation of everything that is, and that there is the possibility of us knowing him better, even if we're not sure how to go on that exploration yet. And the choice of the telescope is personal for me, because physics, atomic physics, astrophysics, it was part of my journey from atheism to belief in God. I was a student at school learning about science and atoms and galaxies and time, and it's partly what started me to question life, to question my own atheism. The sense of wonder and curiosity pushing me to ask deeper and deeper questions. I can say with hindsight, in using these words, that physics led me to philosophy, in effect, and philosophy led me to faith. The possibility of God led me to search for him, and then to realize that he was actually searching for me already. So I do believe that there is a God, and I do believe that reason and rationality and questioning can lead us to the truth that there is a God. I believe we can prove the existence of God as a starting point, even though there is so much more to learn. Thanks for joining me, and we'll have some more episodes in this series coming soon, I hope. God bless.